Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living in New York City. The idea was that I gave Jimmy and Celeste was to move through, having the strength to move through and move beyond whatever it is that we're facing. So we are religious science students here, and we are religious science practitioners. So we don't get ourselves, we don't stay down for long. We don't stay stuck. So today's talk really is about developing the personal courage to do whatever we have to do to become happy. And we have the tools in religious science to heal ourselves and to heal our emotions and whatever comes into our life by means of our consciousness. On the one hand, it might be ours because consciousness draws everything to us. But we have the ability to transform our conditions by means of our consciousness. And if you're on the call for the first time, that might sound like a lot of gobbledygook to you, and you may not really get what it is that I'm talking about. But I promise you, if you stay with us and you let yourself consider some of the ideas we talk about and you engage in this type of thinking, you'll realize that you can change your thinking, and you can, in fact, change your life. I pulled up some notes from a blog and from a talk that I did a couple of months ago on a similar subject. And from Ralph Waldo Trine, he wrote, "We are born into a strange time, a time that tries our souls." Now, he was writing that, by the way, in 1897. So you can think of ourselves as today, and you might think, gosh, we're born into a strange time, a time that tries our souls. Whatever it is that goes on within us that we contemplate all day long is what shows up in our life. There was a new author who wrote a book, You Are What You Tweet. So in social media, whatever you're tweeting about and thinking about and talking about, you have a tendency to bring forward into your life, to manifest. So we want to take an account of what we're consuming all the time, where we're spending our time, our attention, what we're watching on TV, who we're talking to, the quality of our conversations. We want to remember the importance and the value of self-discovery and listening to the conversation that's going on within you. I was told when I was learning this teaching that every thought we think is creating our future. So that's the challenge to everybody on the call. And this is what we do every Thursday night. We ask you, what has it been like being you this week? Because whatever it is that, lives inside of you in terms of your hour-by-hour conversation, I want you to realize that you are creating your life with that conversation. We have a tendency to think that all the things that happened all day long and all this past week were about other people, but that's really not the case. It's really always about us. So we want to have the courage to challenge our thought processes, and we want to have the courage to challenge our messaging, the messaging we have to ourselves. If we pause, and that's part of the secret, is learning to slow down a little bit. If you can pause, you can reflect and then not react. Who would you be if you weren't reacting to stuff, right? Much of the time we react to other people, friends, parents, teachers. We react to them and we're not even really listening anymore to them. We react all the time. And the question is, who would you be if you were a little bit more centered? What would it be like to be that empowered, where you begin to live in a world where you don't react to stuff, where you can pause long enough to know that they're all doing the best they can with what they have, and you don't react to it. Okay? You get to create that kind of person. You get to be that person that's non-reactive if you want to. So, what you dwell upon and what you think about is creating your life. Or using social media, what you're tweeting about all day long is creating your life. So all this new language about tweeting and talking amuses me a little bit, but it comes back to some central ideas. When you establish peace within, when you're working this teaching and living the affirmative life, and you know that everyone is doing the best they can with what they know, then nothing and no one really bothers you too much, because you realize all is well with you, and that people are doing the best that they can. When you establish kindness within your own mind, your own heart, your own being, you can't really act any other way in the outside world, because that's who you are. The author Alan Cohen wrote, "Don't wait for the world to change, please. Change your mind about the world and see the good that's in the world." It's real easy doing it the other way, talking about what's wrong and being a bitcher and a complainer. I was told some 35, 40 years ago that we are the applauders of life. Those of us who really get this teaching, those of us who are learning to live the affirmative life and live with treatment, we're here to see the good. It's our very practice to see the good and just to ignore. It's like the other stuff is like white noise. It's nothingness. And why would you let yourself get off track reacting to stuff that just doesn't even exist in the mind of God? So ours is a solitary path. We do our work in mind. We do our work in consciousness. In his book, In Tune with the Infinite Again, Ralph Trine said over 133 years ago, we were born into this strange time, a time that tries our souls. I think it's the same now as it was then. We're born into a world where there's a lot of stuff going on, but that stuff, you don't have to act or react to any of it. You can notice it, okay? What you give your attention to, I've been for many years, for several decades at least, saying to myself, everything is perfect, or this is God in my life. And, I get all these things coming from the book, You Can Heal Your Life, and the Science of Mind textbook. When Louise used to say, all is well, she wasn't stupid. She knew all kinds of things were going on around her, but she would say all is well because, in fact, everything is fine, okay? And it's fine for you if you have the consciousness to know everything is fine, where you refuse to be disturbed by any person, place, or thing, where you know that everyone is evolving in perfect place, perfect time, and all the time. Back to Trine's little passage from 1897. This is a time to summon whatever courage we have, whatever faith we have, and practice that faith, knowing we are supplied and knowing that we are supported. We will come through this day and all days. We will rise. We will rise in a way that may surprise even us if we have that kind of confidence and faith. And in such a way where others who dwell in fear can never rise. We need to be confident. We need to be bold to help ourselves. It takes a little bit of moxie to love yourself. Because, there's a whole bunch of stuff inside of us. We have a history with ourselves where we know where we've let ourselves down, and we remember where we've let others down. And it takes courage to just drop that rock, drop that story, and say, I'm not going there anymore. I'm standing in the dawn of a new day and a new moment, and I am supplied and supported, loved and lovable, and this is the truth of God. This is my truth, and so it is. So here we are today, or this evening, one more time, approaching the subject just from a slightly different angle. But our obligation here is to love ourselves and realize that we live move, and have our being in a presence, that responds to us endlessly and always. It's time, by the way. None of us are children anymore. This is not a dress rehearsal. Why would you want to be miserable? I've done so many talks here on these same kind of ideas. Ernest Holmes said, Bill Wilson first said, misery is optional. And Ernest Holmes said, suffering is not God ordained. So who the heck wants to be suffering and exist in misery? So it's time for us to shine. It's time for us to get off our butts and quit explaining. I can't do it now because it's too late for me. Any of these stories that we entertain, we have lots of excuses, but really, is there any excuse that's really good enough? Okay, what's your excuse for being miserable, please? I'd love to know. Give me some reason that can justify, being unhappy. Our job is to get on track here. Okay, and realize in truth there's nothing outside of you. So the thing is, if you're experiencing, all these states of consciousness that are less than wonderful, then this teaching gives you a way to let go. You can talk about what's bothering you, and you can share what's bothering you for a time. But now, after you've done that, you want to take on, you want to entertain the truth. And the truth is that there is one power that's supporting you, and you can rely on that. You can rely on that power. You can begin to know that you are worthy and everything is okay and operating perfectly in your life. We begin the process of loving ourselves minute by minute, hour by hour. Louise Hay would say, room by room in our apartment. Wherever it's messy, we begin cleaning it up. We begin wherever we are right now. If your thought process is a disaster, which you might say, oh my God, if you really knew me, I'm a train wreck. I'm just filled and riddled with negativity. If that's the case, you're not alone. There's others who feel the same way. We begin where we are. You think about your thinking, and if you are a rigid person, for example, if you're full of shoulds, and you're the director in all matters, and you have all kinds of opinions about everything, if you are that rigid person, and that person's not a fun person to be, nor is it a fun person to be around. So who can change that in anybody else? Who can change that? I can only change that in me. In Louise Hay's book, she uses the word should, and I always love it because she'll say, if you notice you're using the word should 47 times a day, she'll say it might indicate a pattern of rigidity within you. Well, of course it does. And you're parroting it from something you got when you were a little girl or a little boy, and it's been reinforced for years. So she would say, where did you first hear that? And how's that working out for you? So the suggestion here is to let go of all those inner commands and the inner scolding and the shaming and blaming, and to begin to love yourself in the moment and just say to yourself, my God, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. You've done well. You've been through a lot, and it's all okay. And you've learned so much. Isn't it wonderful how much you have learned? Tell yourself that and have that. That's the inner dialogue that makes the difference when you're treating yourself like you're somebody that's worth something. And cherish yourself and talk to yourself in that way. Because as you're able to love yourself and drop all that internal, I'm not okay and I'm not good enough and I'm not good enough and as you are able to drop that, and genuinely become more kind and nurturing to yourself, you will notice that you then automatically begin to extend that very person, that way to others. You won't be so out of joint when people are doing whatever they're doing because you know that they're doing the best they can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. So we want to nurture ourselves more, and we want to nurture this inner strength. This lesson asks me to ask you to repeat to yourself a statement, which is, I am strong enough. And if you don't think you are, then I want you to say it to yourself. I am strong enough, and I'm worthy, and I'm capable, and I'm able. I am supplied and supported. I mean, I've been telling myself these things for so many years, I probably don't say them anymore, but I know I'm strong enough, and I know I'm capable, and I know I'm supplied and supported. You want to keep saying that until you absolutely believe it. Say it into the mirror. So, and begin to address that person with love. Address that strong person within you that has overcome as much as you have. Embrace that strong person more. I'm wondering if you guys really are doing this inner work, because it's important. And if you just get busy each day and you just get busy, then you're forgetting the important stuff. Okay? The whole outer world is a reflection of you. I don't know how many times I can say that. The entire outer world is a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of what's on CNN or Fox. It's a reflection of you. So, you really want to take some time and think about that. My world is a reflection of me. Okay? And if you're creating a scary world, you don't have to. Okay? You can create a different kind of world, a world where there's calm and tranquility and beauty and intelligence and humor and every good thing. You can do it that way also. And why would you want to do it any other way? I remember from the Course in Miracles a line I like. The peace of God is my one goal, my purpose, my function, and my life. You're here to experience that kind of peace and oneness and tranquility and knowledge that you are one with everything that's good. The universe responds to us as we think new ideas. When we step out of group think and we step forward in a bold way, with new thinking and new ideas, the power that holds and that moves the stars and their galaxies is within you, and it responds to you. And it seems always to be rooting for the brave and those who have courage. Courage has power and magic. It just seems to stir everything up when we take inspired action. Faith and courage are your indwelling or your latent superpowers. You can't lose if you have confidence and courage that I'm talking about. We have to use courage. We have to use it to maintain it. So we're courageous and we walk through things. I remember many years ago, there was some 12-step friends of mine who said, these are people who were not really working the program. They said, well, I'm not like you are. You're people because I don't want to feel or deal. But the fact of the matter is, the courage we're talking about requires you to take action. Here's something else for today's lesson regarding courage. Some of you have been through some things, I'm very well aware. I've been through things in my life too. I can promise you though, if I ever gave up on myself, it would have been over. And this is something message I want to give for any of you who are going through something tough right now. You're only done if you say you're done. If you say it's too late, then it's too late. If you say you're too old, you're too old. If you say this can't be done, it's too late for me, then that's the truth for you. So you want to be really, really careful of the things you say. Because I hear people say a lot of things lately, and it concerns me because I'm thinking, it doesn't have to be that way. You can develop the courage to stop that type of language and stop that kind of messaging and start with the positive messaging to the most important person in the world. It requires a great deal of willingness to get off the poor me soapbox. Who would you be if you weren't complaining? What would life be like for you then? Willingness is the key to stop that. Willingness is the key, to become the cheerleader, the applauder. Our part is to eliminate fear from any and every thought and eliminate its twin, which is worry. Eliminate fear and worry. If you can do that, you've come a long way. Let's be 100% resolved not to entertain worry and doubt, fear for a minute, not any longer. So the challenge for today's class is, and I don't have that title again, is courage to be happy. And finding more happiness is knowing that it's an inside job. So let's focus on what we can do, right? It all starts with us in our mind. I have some suggestions that Dr. Celeste drew up for me for the lesson. We can focus on the things that we can do to become happy, to become participants. There's an aspect of the integral growth process which is in the fourth quadrant, where we develop the shift in consciousness from being in receivership. I see Averill there. She always reminds me of that. When we're always looking for other people to fill us up, to give us the info, that's being in a state of bankruptcy. If you want to have some happiness in your life, you have to learn how to be a participant. You have to learn how to become a giver. If life isn't working your way and working out for you, as it often doesn't for people, the only way to turn that around, or the way to turn around quickly, is start giving. That's a beautiful line from the Course in Miracles also, where we talk about forgiveness, where each and every instant is forgiving. If you want to become happy, start giving of yourself. Some of you, I've almost begged you to do spirit groups in the center, not because we need you to do them. When I give you the invitation, it's because I know you need to share and you need to participate. And the center, of course, becomes a beneficiary of your gift, but the person who really needs to do the giving is you. We need to find ways to give. See, you hear ministers talking about that, and usually you think we're talking about money. And of course, we always love receiving your gifts, but you need to give more than the center needs to receive your gift. It's really something to think about. We're in the express business. Ernest Holmes taught that we're here to express life. And so if you're caught up and you're locked up in your room and you're doing some version of Ain't It Awful, you need to develop the courage to be happy again. You need to throw your hat in the ring and start doing something. Everybody on this call that I know of, and most of the people in the center, have such tremendous gifts. But some of you get really snagged into what's happening to you, and so you get caught up in your story. And while a lot of the aspects of your story could be very painful, and we acknowledge and we honor and we respect that, the fact is that you want to move past that and move through that and into a different place, then somehow you must summon the courage to be happy and to be a participant. Throw your hat in the ring. Say, I'm in. What can I do? What can I do to be helpful? What can I do? There's a lot here to be done, by the way. We're involved here in a growth process that's long, and it involves a lot. And we could definitely use your talents. And I think, honestly, some of you, it will do you good to pick up the phone and get involved. But whether you do it with us or anywhere else, giving is one of the keys for you. You can be young at 80 if you're giving and you're involved in life, truly. If you're sitting around talking about what's happened and how ain't it awful, I promise you it's not going to go well. So As we go forward, we know that we want to participate, we want to give. It's easier and easier as you begin to give and give. So let's think a little bit more. Maybe we need to find ways to become consciously grateful as a practice. Do you think that would help you? Help? Say yes. If I can start to become grateful, I will be happier. So let's start working on our gratitude. And you can always reorient your thinking towards what you can do to participate. Another thing we can do as we approach the holidays, we can keep some traditions alive or we can start some new ones. I've been hearing a lot of complaining, I can't be with my family, I can't do this, I can't do that. And every time I hear the word can't, it's like hearing somebody take their fingernails across a blackboard. Stop talking about what you can't do anymore. Erase that word can't, much like you'd erase the word should. It's really a terrible word. Begin to think in terms of what you can do. Challenge yourself to think what you can do around these holidays to make them wonderful for you. Start some new tradition. There must be somebody you've met the past few months. I don't care if it's somebody who works as your doorman or someone that you've met at their grocery. There's something you can do. Maybe you have a lunch or have a tea or something like that. Do something for someone. I saw a new tradition, maybe it's not new, but it was new to me, on the TV this week where, I swear to God, I think she was a Jewish lady, but it doesn't matter. What she was doing was answering some letters to Santa Claus. And she was getting a lot of pleasure out of answering the letter from some child. And there are a bunch of these letters that are unanswered at the post office, and you can get them online, and you can respond to a child. And you can elect to send them something if you want to, or you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. But the lady who was describing what she did got tremendous pleasure out of responding to this one child. It made her entire Christmas holiday. So instead of complaining about what's wrong and what's wrong with this holiday and how nothing's the same, and if you find yourself going there, please stop, because you know better. If you're in this room, on this call, you really know better. Challenge yourself to give of your time, a bit of your treasure, something, and make yourself feel happy. Have the courage to be happy and do something wonderful. So, love yourself enough to do that. Love yourself enough maybe to decorate. I go by these stores on my walk home every night. I could get a bough of a Christmas tree and hang it on my door, or a wreath or something. Light a candle, put up a stocking, whatever it is for you. Isn't this Hanukkah tonight? I think it is. Well, then I'm sure there's things you can do for Hanukkah too. When April comes on, she'll tell you. But the point is, do something, right? To celebrate your life and get excited. So love yourself enough to decorate. Do something new. Create a new tradition. How about creating a new family? How about something that one of your grandmothers might have made and you haven't done in 40 years because you go buy it? It's easier. How about making something from scratch? Wouldn't that be well, for me, that would be a real experience. But, give something like that a try. Or get together, do something creative with family photos and send them to some of your relatives or your friends or something like that. So there's some suggestions for traditions. While everything might be up in the air this year, this is the ideal time to create, again, new traditions and invite new friends and people into your life. You might find some ways to volunteer in some way. As you do any of these things, you'll start feeling really good. These are all things you can do to develop more courage. And as a religious scientist, we really need to step up, and we're the lucky ones because we know that we have this teaching. We ought to be moving past just being okay. At this point with this teaching, we're the ones that lead the way. So if we find ourselves doing ain't it awful and poor me, it's really what a pity. There's no need for it. So if you're in those states of consciousness, call me up, or call Joyce or Judith, or call your friends up. Just step out of it. It takes a lot of courage to release all these old things that we hang on to, but it's time to. It's time for us to embrace the new. Now, I was sent a Science of Mind passage to read to you from page 439. Ernest Holmes wrote, "We are continuously living a new life, and when the old and the new do not fit nicely together, the old being no longer able to contain the new needs to be let go of. Continually, we must expect new revelations of old truths. We want to never lose sight of the fact that the soul is on the pathway of an endless and ever-expanding experience, and that only by expansion can it evolve." So we're here to expand, and we're here to let go of what no longer works and embrace new things. Accepting the lessons and the experiences of the past and taking the best from all of them, we want to eagerly go forward, happily go forward. We want to have the courage to be happy. There is no limit to the possibility inherent in people or in yourself. So let's release the need to worry, and let's develop complete trust in the process of life. Tonight I want us all to let go, which is the last step in spiritual mind treatment. Release and let go and know that all is well.